continue with the paper. So we're doing June 2023. That was written on the 9th of June in Gauteng, right? So this is the paper. We're doing question 5, which is about functions, right? So let's look at it. So they tell us that the diagram below represents f of x, which is a over x minus p plus q, right? And they tell us t, which is tabella, right? The coordinate of t is 5 and 3, right? And is a point on f, as we're given there, right? So they want us to find the values of a, p, and q, right? So a, p, and q. So let's go. So by just looking at the graph, right? This graph is very, very detailed, right? In the way it's presented. So if we just zoom in on the graph here, we can see that they already tell us a lot of information, right? So here, they've given us the value of this vertical line, which is the vertical asymptote. Remember, an asymptote is a line that the graph approaches but never touches, right? Right? So it means that here, x is equals to 4, as we're given, right? And here we can see that y is equals to 2. We were given that, right? So our values of p and q are satisfied, right? So we will go into that now. And then to find the value of a, right? Because just think about it now, right? We have the value of p, we have the value of q, right? And we also have a coordinate. So our x and our y is sorted. Then a would be the only unknown. So we're going to be using that coordinate to find the only unknown, which is a there, right? And then we're going to be done with this, right? So let's go. We understand that the value of q, straight away, it represents our horizontal asymptote, right? So our horizontal asymptote is what? Y is equal to 2. So we can therefore start with it and say that q is equals to 2, right? And then to find the value of p, right? Whatever we do, guys, right? Whenever we're dealing with hyperbolas, right? So let's say we have a over x plus 1, for example, right? Plus c, let me just say c, right? And then to find, right, the asymptote that is linked to that, which is the vertical asymptote, we're going to take x plus 1 and therefore equate it to 0, thus giving us x is equal to -1, right? So don't get confused. Sometimes it just swaps the sign there, all right? But it's okay. So let's move. So now that we have that, let's push. So it's okay. 5.1, this is 5.1, right? So now we understand that x minus p, right, must be equated to 0 in order for us to find the value of p. But we have the value of x. So we are just going to replace that. Look at this. X minus p is equal to 0. But remember, guys, but x is equal to 4. They've given that to us, right? They've given it to us, the vertical asymptote, right? So now we're going to put 4 minus p is equal to 0. Therefore, p is equal to +4, right? And then we sorted, right? So now we just need to find the value of a. So far what we have is f of x, right, is equals to a, which is the unknown, x minus 4, right, plus 2. Right, and we can just replace. Remember, we have a coordinate, which is tabella, which is 5 and 3, right? So let's push. So now we know that this represents the x and this is y. So let's go replace. So 3 is equals to a over 5 minus 1. Minus 4, I meant to say. But you'll understand why I'm saying 1. But minus 4 plus 2, right? And yeah, so let's take this 2 to the other side. So we're going to have 1 is equals to a over 1, which means that a is therefore equal to 1. And it must make sense, guys. Remember, guys, the value of a in this formula, right, tells us that if the value of a is negative, it means, right, if a is less than 0, it means our graph will lie in the second and the fourth quadrant. But if a is greater than 0, right, it means that it will lie in the first and the third quadrant. And it makes sense. Our value of a is +1, right? And it therefore lies in the first and third quadrant. So we know that, it's possible that our answer is correct, right? Because it aligns with what is given in the diagram. So let's push, right? And then, we're done. So I just want to write down the original graph, right? So we have f of x, right? F of x is equal to 1 over x minus 4 plus 2. So this is our f of x, right? So we are done with this one, right? And then let's push. Let's see how far we can go. So let's go to the next question. They say if the graph of f is reflected across the line having the equation y is equals to -x plus c, and the new graph coincides with the graph of y is equal to f of x. Look at this, guys, right? So they tell us that this line is reflected across the line having the equation negative x plus c. This is an indirect way of asking us about the axis of symmetry of this line. You understand? So this is the axis of symmetry with a what? With a negative m, which is a negative gradient, right? So they're trying to ask it in a funny way, because they tell us that what we have to understand, guys, is that the axis of symmetry, should it go that way, right? It means that it cuts the graph in half, right? It separates both of the parts. And they say that if we reflect this, so here, let me just do this. Let's say we have that, right? Just extend that a little bit like that. Yeah, let's say we have that, right? And I reflect it across that line. I'm still going to get this graph that's already here. So that's what they mean by coincides, right? They just it comes to the exact same place. So it's just a mirror image of itself, right? So it's a funny way of asking the axis of symmetry, but we understand that. Let's go do it. And then let's go. 5.2, right? Let me use a different cal. Right, 5.2. Right, let's push. So 5.2, y is equals to what? Negative x plus c. So they want the value of c. And remember, guys, these values, the x value and the y value, we get it from the point where our axes of symmetry meet. Right? Look at this, guys. What I mean by this is that, look at here. Look at this point, guys. This point here, right, is where the horizontal asymptote meets with the vertical asymptote. And that point is what? It has an x value of 4. So it's x and y, right? So that's what we mean. And then our value is what? Is 4, which is here. And our other value is 2, right? Which is y. So we have 4 and 2. So let's just go and replace same time, right? Because that line, axis of symmetry, cuts through that point. So we have a coordinate already of that line with the negative gradient, right? So let's push. So we have a gradient, which is -1. We are sorted, right? And the rest that we need to do is find the value of c by using the coordinate that we have, because we know that that axis of symmetry cuts through the points of intersection of the lines, the asymptotes, right? So let's push. So let's go. So now we're going to replace, we had y is equal to 2 is equals to negative, our x was 5 plus c, right? Therefore, wait, hold on a second. Our x was 4, not 5. I'm sorry about that. 4, and then c, we take that 4 to the other side. Is c is equal to 6, right? So let's just go make sure if this thing makes sense, guys. Okay, so c is equal to 6, and it makes sense because our 6, right, represents in that case our y cut. So our 6 is going to be somewhere above there, right? So if you got a negative value for c, right, it wouldn't make sense. You understand what I mean? So just make sure that you can verify your answers like that, and then yeah, right. So yeah, this is it for this question. And yeah. So just let me know in the comments how you feel, and yeah, so if I should continue and stuff, and yeah, please just share to your friends if you can, and yeah, subscribe and then like, yeah, surely.